How long does it take to make a living from your art? This was a great question that came in alongside another question that is also related. And the other question was, do artists need to supplement their income through teaching? Is that the only way that an artist can make a living? So this is what I'm going to tackle in today's episode. I'm going to talk about these two big questions: how long it takes to make a living, and whether artists need to teach, whether that is a necessity. This is a super question, and my gosh, my mind is swirling with all the things I want to talk about. But first of all, I want to share back in the day when I set up United ArtSpace, and when I really realized that, just selling my own art for me wasn't enough. And that's just personal. I love making art, I love creativity. But for me, when I was in the studio making, which I adored, there always felt like there was something missing. And for me, I wanted to help people. So this wasn't from a place of needing to do it as the only way to make money. For me, setting up United ArtSpace was my calling, 100%. I was at a point where I was selling my work, but it wasn't enough. There was something else missing. So for me, going back to that question about needing to teach, I wasn't even doing it to teach. I just felt compelled to create a community. And for me, that's where United ArtSpace began. And it was a conscious decision. And I remember I wanted to bring people together. And I remember I wanted to create a space. And I remember getting some advice from other people that were doing that. And I remember at that time them saying, if you want to pursue all these things, community and setting up studios, you will have to put your own art down the bottom of the pile. It will not succeed. You cannot do both. And I'll never forget Karen from East Street Arts, the founder of East Street Arts, giving me that advice, because Karen sacrificed her own art to pursue setting up studios for artists. And I made that decision. So I think for me, then the whole time frame of making a living, not from my art per se, but from my creativity and from everything that I've learned about being an artist, took a long time. And I'll talk about selling art in a minute, but I just wanted to start with my own experience. When I was selling my own art, I wasn't making a full living, but I was selling what I was making. And then setting up United ArtSpace and creating a community and resources and all the things, it took me many years to make a living from what I've done today. And thinking back now, if someone had told me at the beginning that it would take me 4 years to actually make a living from my dream of setting up United ArtSpace, I'm not sure if I would have carried on with it, because I think back then I would have got in my own head thinking, I can't wait 4 years. What am I going to do in between now and then? And I need to make a living. I need to earn money. I've got children. And so I don't think I would have, I would have even set sail. So I'm really glad though that I went on the journey that I went on, and that it took me so long. I really do appreciate the journey and what I've learned, and the ups and the downs. And it's been difficult, and I've had some really scary financial moments, but they've taught me so much. And what I want to flip it now to art, because now that's what I teach people. I teach people how to use their art and creativity to make a living, to create a life that you love. And having worked with so many artists now over the last 6 years and beyond, what I know to be true is there is no time scale. There is no set time that it takes somebody to make a living. Every single journey is different. It really depends on factors that I'll talk about now. Because I've seen some people have joined our hub, which is where we help people make a living from their art. I've seen people join our hub membership and they've got stuck into the content, they've worked through, and boom, they've started making a living within 12 months. I've never seen less than 6 months. But that's not to say it can't happen, but some things to address first of all are, what does making a living mean? And so that's what you want to get clear on first of all, because that is different for everybody. Everybody listening here has a different view on what making a living means. And so if we're talking financial, to earn enough money to pay for me to live the life that I live is different. And when I set United ArtSpace up, that number that I needed had to shrink. It wasn't feasible for me to have the lifestyle back then that I had whilst I was setting up United ArtSpace. And so to make a living from my creativity and from my art and everything that I know, I had to, for a short time, and this was my conscious decision, was to minimize the amount that I needed to make to earn a living so that it was more achievable. So I'm not suggesting that you do this, but this is just me sharing what I did. In that transition where I wasn't able to make any money from United ArtSpace, because when I first set it up, everything had to go back in to make it work. I had to keep plowing money back in to grow it and to improve what I was doing. And it was really, 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 really frustrating. And I remember at one point I had an accountant, because I knew that I could not do that part. I have dyslexia and all the things I made excuses about. I can't do the numbers because I'm this and I'm that. So the first thing I outsourced was an accountant, and they were earning more than me. It really, really used to annoy me that my accountant was earning more money than I was in my own business. And I'm not saying this was right or wrong. This is just how it was when I first started out. And there was many times where I just thought, I can't carry on like this. But that is what it's like when you're starting up any kind of business, art career, in any industry. In fact, it takes a long time to build your customer base and build your reputation and learn what the heck it is you're doing. And so it's very, very rare for someone to just decide they want to set up a business and then within like 3 months they're making a living. It just does not happen. So if it does happen, and I have seen it happen, but when it does happen really quickly like that, and I'm talking within 3 months, when people just start making bucket loads of money, or they're making a living, whatever that means, it's usually because that person is in the right place at the right time. They've either struck lucky with a situation or someone, or as a trend, or there's something happened where it's like, boom, they're just in the right place. And it's like, woohoo. And they haven't really had to do anything, just put something out there and it's all working. And it doesn't really have longevity. This is what I've come to learn, that in those situations, it is usually a trend. It's usually, boom, there's something happened where we've got this synergy where I've got something and someone else wants it, and this is working. And what happens over time is that shifts. What I have, what this person wants, doesn't last, and the gap moves and it doesn't work anymore. And so that tends to fizzle out. And so there are companies out there and people out there that just carry on doing those things. They'll just create something, put it out there, and then they'll try and find something else, a new trend, a new craze, put it out there. But what I tend to gravitate towards is the long game, the solid foundations under your feet that grow and grow and grow to a sustainable living and practice, and you're growing and evolving and moving, and having those solid foundations. For me, it's important, because then what you build isn't just going to disappear overnight or fizzle out. So that then brings me to another situation where people can make things happen very, very quickly. Sometimes you might see someone on the outside deciding they want to be an artist, and all of a sudden they're making money and they seem to be making a living. It's all working and they've just been doing it for 3 months. But you don't actually know what has gone on behind the scenes before that point. Sometimes people have been working towards something. They haven't maybe publicly. They've been maybe doing loads of mindset work. They might have loads of contacts in the art world. There's so many factors that could be influencing that success of that person that could have been like 20 years in the making. You just never know. So sometimes we have to be careful with what we see on the outside, because it isn't really the reality of what's happening behind the scenes. And so, in terms of making a living and the time frame, there isn't one, but there are things that you can do to accelerate it and to build those solid foundations. And so, the first thing to do when it is we're talking about making a living in the monetary sense is deciding what that actually looks like. What does that actually mean? How much money do I need to earn from my creativity and my art practice and my art career for me to stand alone? And that gives you that ballpark. And then looking at, can I reduce that anyhow or anyway? Short term, you don't want to live like that forever, but sometimes we just have to make those adjustments to take the pressure off. And then starting to figure out, now I want to get to the next level and the next level, and how do I do that? And that then brings me to the next part of this: to start making money from your creativity and making a living. So you're standing on your 2 feet, paying for things through your art practice, then is determined by your mindset, number one, 100%. Most people are not making the living because of themselves, because you're getting in your own way. You've either got some blocks around creativity and selling, or you're nervous around selling, or you don't believe in yourself, or that is usually the reason that is holding people back. Mindset, 100%. And then the second part is getting in front of the right people, and it's hitting that sweet spot of what you have and what somebody else wants. And that sweet spot in the middle is where the magic happens and the transaction happens. And there are things that you can do to get in front of the right people and to hit that sweet spot. And this comes from time and learning and making mistakes. And that's why I say the people that usually have that quick success wouldn't know how to replicate it, because they haven't been in the trenches. They haven't learned the steps that you go through to understand why you create, and who are your people and how do you speak to them, how do you stand out. So once you learn that, then you can replicate and sell and sell and sell. You learn what it is that you have to do to sell and make a living. So you don't want to chase the overnight success. You want to learn how to do this properly, because then that gives you those foundations, so that if something does happen with the type of artwork that you're selling, you know that you've learned the skills to be able to navigate and pivot and do something else. So it's figuring out what you need to do. And then in the early stages, I would say that it is common to make a living in other ways whilst you're establishing your art practice or your art business or your art career. So depending again on situations and where money is coming from. But if you look at all types of businesses setting up, they usually start out with some other income or side hustle or some grant money, or there's something to support in those early days. And that's normal. That doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you can't say that you're an artist because all of your money isn't coming from your art sales. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And I share this because I do see people feeling ashamed because they have to sell courses or teach, and they feel that it's a bad thing, and it isn't. It's actually a really clever thing if you want to do that, because what that does is it gives you another revenue stream. So by that I mean it's just another way to make money. So I know lots of people that do work alongside their art practice as they're setting up. That's exactly what I did. I had another job as I was setting up United ArtSpace. And then what tends to happen is, with the teaching thing, It's usually because if you can teach something that you're really good at, if it's related to the art that you make, that's fantastic because that all weaves into your life. It's very difficult, and I know from experience, when you've got a job that's completely unrelated to the arts and you're trying to sell your art, and then you're going into the office and you're trying to deal with people who drive you insane and you've got to cut through all this red tape. And so if you can have another revenue stream that sits alongside your art practice, which teaches, that's why most people gravitate towards that. And I think most people that do that is because they do have a passion for sharing what they're making and what they're doing. And so only do it if you feel compelled to do it, not because you feel like you need to do it. There needs to be some passion behind teaching and doing that, not just because you feel like you have to. So that's what I would say. You don't need to do it, but it's there as an option if you want to do it. Because as you start to learn more about your art practice, there will be other ways that you can make money from your creativity and your art practice. The more you learn about what's out there and what's possible, it's mind blowing when you realize the different ways that you can make money. And I think once you're in it and you start to connect with people, you start to learn it. Because if you're in a job and you're stuck in a job, it's almost like that takes up your brain power. It's the world that you see the lens through. And when you start to meet people and other artists and you learn how they're making money and how what's available, and grant money, I've been talking to my friends recently about grant money that's available. People just don't realize. And when you start to talk to people and get out there, you realize how much money there is available at our fingertips, and help and support. It's mind blowing. So in terms of making the living, it's working out what it is that you want to make. Then what do I need to do to earn that money? And this is what we teach inside our hub, by the way, our hub where we provide resources. If you're a hub member, go and check out 2 lessons that will really help you. There's managing finances, and there's also selling with confidence. Those 2 lessons help you map out what it is that you need to sell and how much you need to sell for to be able to hit what it is you need to make for a living. Because then when you start to understand, this is how many artworks I need to make, this is how much they need to be priced at, then you can start to figure out, how do I price them at this? This is where I need to be benchmarking myself. If I want to make a living, I need to sell this amount of pieces. They need to be this price point. And you can start to play around with that and then understand, what do I need to do now to hit that? And the other thing as well, when you know that, you'll just start to learn then from other artists who are selling at that price point, and what are they doing and what do I need to do? How are they making a living? Really looking out there at people that are doing this and learning from them. And the other thing I wanted to share on this topic is, some people think that when they hit a certain income level, that it's going to fix all their problems. This is what I thought. Soon as I hit this income level, then everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be happy. And especially if it's an income level that's far out of reach, you do think that that's going to be the answer to all your problems. And I know a lot of people who are in my accountability group have hit the 1 million mark now. They've hit 7 figures in a year, and they've turned over £1 million. And they said they thought it was going to answer all their problems, and it absolutely hasn't. And they're stressed out, and it's caused all these issues, and they're like, and they're not complaining because it's brilliant. But they thought, they had in their head that they're going to be sat back with a margarita on the beach because they've hit 1 million. And that's just not the reality. And so I wanted to share that, because I think it's great striving. It's great striving towards financial goals. I'm a big believer in that. And I believe that we can earn way more money than we ever dreamed of. And money is fantastic. It's great. It's an energy. We benefit from having money. It's not the be all and end all, though. And it's not going to fix your problems. Yes, it might pay for a holiday. It might pay for the leaking roof and that kind of thing. But money is an energy source. It comes and it goes. And hitting a certain level, and I've seen this happen in so many people, they hit the level and then you find new things that you need to buy, and then you just have the same problems or different problems. So it's not going to fix everything. And I always teach that, your happiness comes from within here. I know that sounds really cheesy and corny, but it really does. You don't need money to make you happy, but money is great. And so enjoy the journey of discovering how to make money from your art, from your creativity. Enjoy that journey. Know that it is possible. It's 100% possible to make a living. I've worked with so many artists now who are and have joined our program. Some have fled off now and they're making a living, and I'm seeing them in magazines. I'm seeing them all over the place. There are people in our community who are now just on the cusp of making a living. My friends, myself, it's possible, but it takes work. It really does take work. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. It's not, but it's 100% possible for everyone, and it's within reach as well. So there's no clear answer. I wish I could tell you it takes you 6 months to make a living from your art, and here's what you have to do, but it's different from everyone. So, but it's possible, and I want you to leave with that in mind. So anyway, there you go. There's my weekly ramblings. I will see you next week for another episode of Motivational Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.